This is going to be interesting to try to cover, because obviously, as a guy that's a Canucks fan, I don't really watch all the Oilers games in the world. Sure, they're on my television screen once in a while because, Sportsnet, when you have it on, you'll inevitably have an Oilers or a Flames game in the background in passing. So even though I'm not really going out there and watching all the Oilers games in specific minute detail, I could still see why this conversation is happening. And we're going to go over onto the Oilers subreddit, see what some of the fans over there have to say to get this conversation moving. Let's talk today about Jesse Puljujarvi, recent first-line player for the team, and 2016, oh man, do I say bust? No, bust is the wrong word to use. I mean, he's not as good as some of the guys taken after him, but he's not a bust per se. I mean, Olli Juolevi is a bust. He was taken right after. But either way, Puljujarvi was taken 4th overall by the Oilers. I think we all kind of know the story. 2016 was a big year. Puljujarvi was supposed to go 3rd. Pierre-Luc Dubois went 3rd, which is why Puljujarvi was available at number 4. And the Oilers ended up getting themselves a two-way power winger that had a really good ability to score points. He had 17 points in 7 games in the World Juniors that year, as a 17, 18-year-old, which is unheard of, and you don't normally see guys, even amongst regular overage World Junior players, produce as much as Puljujarvi did. However, it was an up-and-down development path for this guy, as when he made the NHL the next season, he was not as successful as the guys taken above him that we all thought were kind of in the same territory. Patrick Laine went out there and scored a boatload of goals. Auston Matthews did the same. Puljujarvi, meanwhile, got sent down to the AHL, and his development the next few seasons reflected that progression. He went up and down a few times. He went over to Finland, he ditched the team, he came back, and then he became a 30-point guy in 65 games played. This was a pretty good season last year, all things considered, but he only had 3 points in 16 games in the postseason. He also had an analytical profile that was fantastic. Everybody that Puljujarvi played with got better when they were playing with him versus when they were playing without him. Now, it's very interesting to see why that was happening, but it wasn't because Puljujarvi is this amazing top-tier point scorer. It's because all the little things, the plays off the puck, the plays on the boards, and the defensive responsibility, it was all there. When you think about what Puljujarvi was supposed to be back in 2016, a two-way power-scoring winger, it's almost like the two-way part of his game grew and became what it is today, which is fantastic, but the power-scoring winger part didn't really grow alongside of that. He was still a good enough player to keep around, which is why he's even playing with Connor McDavid right now. But you take a look at Puljujarvi this season, and the guy's got 3 points in 16 games. It's the same as his production in the postseason last year, except the goals and the assists are flipped. He's on pace for 15 points in 82 games, which is not good. That is not good for a player that's going out there and playing with McDavid and on the first line. But the way Puljujarvi has been playing, it's interesting because he's still going out there and doing all the little things right. He's playing somewhat of a perfect game, quote-unquote, when it comes to not allowing opposition to be their best. However, even though Puljujarvi is playing what you could define as a perfect defensive game right now, it's the offense that needs expansion. Let's go over onto the Oilers subreddit and read this post made by Jordan Buhat, Puljujarvi the Truck. Anybody else love the crushing hits Jesse is laying down lately? At least one big hit each game. It makes me happy. The first comment by Red Kryptonite, or Kryptonite? It's Kryptonite without the vowels, so yeah, I kind of misread that. I hate to pile on the guy, but I don't think I can watch Puljujarvi on the top line for 3 more months. Something has to be done. His forecheck is nice and all, but you can't have easy plays being flubbed with 97 on the ice. If you watch him out there, 97 will be circling center ice ready to go, and JP will dump it in. He's scared to make the pass and mess it up. We saw this during the playoffs last year. McDavid would just feed beautiful passes to Puljujarvi, who would panic and flub the play. When Puljujarvi had the puck on a 3-on-2 and just slowed down before the blue line, it killed that whole play. You can't do that. It's just always almost with Jesse Puljujarvi. You then had some comments going out there saying that Spectre was kind of right the whole time. Moon Knight, by the way, nice. The very eloquently spoken Poo Magnet says that I'm not liking too much else with him this year. He seems resistant to any kind of coaching. The play doesn't his stick way too often, and he has the speed and the shot, but in my opinion, his brain can't keep up with the play. Flesh Tower then replies saying that he's going the way of Yakupov. Poo Magnet says, yep, he'll be overseas in 3 years or less, is my guess. And, you know, I wasn't going to make this video a Jesse Puljujarvi is the new Nail Yakupov conversation, but you know what? I like that little thing right there. That makes for a very interesting title and thumbnail, so I think we're going to go with that angle right here. Nail Yakupov was the first overall pick by the Oilers back in 2012, and honestly, he actually had a pretty good career in the first 3 or 4 seasons as a member of the Oilers, until things kind of went south for the guy. He was, for all intents and purposes, a bust. Because he just couldn't put it together. He had the attitude and he had the swagger of a guy that was going to be a star in the National Hockey League, but he just couldn't keep up with that sort of profile. Eventually, in 2018-19, he left the NHL and he's been in Russia ever since. For Jesse Puljujarvi, he's had a few more seasons than Yakupov has had in the National Hockey League. Yakupov started out in 2012 with the Oilers and he was gone by the time 2018 started, so that's 6 seasons. Puljujarvi started in 2016, so 6 seasons later would be about right now. If you're going to go out there and say that Puljujarvi with 1 year left at $3 million is going to get himself a bona fide starting top 6 NHL role, then I don't know what to tell you. Because the way this guy's been playing, sure, while he plays a very good, responsible game, it's just not offensively risky enough to justify playing him that high in the lineup. I feel like if you put Puljujarvi in your bottom 6 and you told him, hey, just be a grinder, I feel like he'd actually be pretty okay. But the thing is, we all kind of know that Puljujarvi was drafted 4th overall because he's got such a talent profile, that playing a guy like that at the bottom of your lineup seems kind of like an insult at this point. And furthermore, if Puljujarvi goes back to Finland, you know he's going to be one of the best players in the league over there. He was that in 2019-20 when he went back over to Kärpät. So for Puljujarvi, it's like, okay, if you're really good as an NHL-level grinder, you can't score many points, you flubbed out your chance of playing with Connor McDavid. Would you rather get re-signed to play as a bottom 6 grinder, or would you go back over to Finland and be the guy, be the star, be the player that brings fans out of their seats, like he could be with Kärpät? Do you go the route of Nail Yakupov? Because that path looks pretty good for anybody that can't actually find consistent NHL success. It was great last year. Honestly, the playoffs took away all that momentum that Puljujarvi had building up for him. The guy had 36 points. He was a half a point a game player. If he continued that this season, he wouldn't be on pace for 15 points. He'd be on pace for a lot more, and he'd actually be helping the play out when Connor McDavid is out there. Again, I haven't watched too many Oilers games in full with extreme detail, but it's apparent that Connor McDavid's play is suffering at the same time because guys like Puljujarvi cannot facilitate the play properly when McDavid is out there on the ice. Keep in mind, even with this anchor, Connor McDavid is still dominating the National Hockey League. He's still at 2 points a game, and David Pastrnak is right behind him in total points. So, good on Connor for being the good player that he is, but at the same time, focusing back on Puljujarvi, you can talk to the console your thoughts whether or not this Puljujarvi-Yakupov thing actually has some weight. Do you think that this is the inevitable path that Puljujarvi is set to go down? Do you think he'll be okay with sticking him in a bottom 6 role and telling him to grind? Or do you think he'll get it all together and eventually become that absolute superstar first-line caliber scoring, playmaking, power forwarding, two-way capable winger that we thought he would be back when he was drafted in 2017 because he was so gosh darn good at the World Juniors? If he produced like that in any of these other seasons, like Puljujarvi realistically could have been like a 60, 70, 80, dare I say 85 point caliber winger. 60 in a bad year, 85 in a good year, and maybe 90 once in a while because he'd push it because he's going to be a superstar. That's what he was supposed to be. But nah, now he's on pace for 15 points, and he's 24 years old. There's so little development time left for him to really show off that he can be more than what we saw at the end of last season before the playoffs began. So, is the Yakupov route next? Talk to the console your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99. And bye.